What's happening, fishing friends? Today we're talking about buying used fishing gear. Now you can get some really good deals, some good cheap stuff, whether that's on Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, or American Legacy, like I got this little Daiwa Tatula 70. If you remember a couple videos back when I was fishing that crankbait, that reel that sounded a little screechy. I have to borrow your oil. I have to borrow your oil. I got the Daiwa 70. Oh, well, it's not new, but... Well, I'm going to talk about taking it apart, showing you some stuff, especially with Daiwa, some things to look for, and some other things talking through looking at used fishing gear. So enough yapping, let's get into it. And the thing that always messes me up with left-handed reels, they are reverse threaded, so righty loosey, lefty tighty. Another important thing when you're taking reels apart, I always put them down in the order that I'm taking these pieces off. So as I go through, handle each single piece that I'm going through, I'm laying them down there. And whenever I pull them off this way, that's how I set them down. So when I go to pick a piece up, I know it goes on just like that. Okay, so somebody's definitely had this apart here. I just took out some long hairs of somebody working on this. I don't know how or why it's so rough when you reel it in, because it looks like two. When I was out on the water, I did take this non-handle side plate off, and I noticed, you can see in there, looks like they replaced it with some hybrid ceramic bearings. This is also a place you want to be careful as you're taking this apart not to jostle the parts around inside here. Get that screw out, that's right there. Just wanted to make sure that was not anything that I needed to deal with, and looking at this exploded diagram, it wasn't. Well, unlike a lot of the Daiwas I've used, this one is not bone dry. We definitely have grease in here. I'm guessing a lot of that just kind of got spun off. I'm going to grab some towels and such. I'm going to clean this blue grease off. I think I'm going to put some of my Shimano drag grease on here. I'm guessing the cranking sound was coming from this, which, you know, it's got grease and stuff on it, so I don't know. We're going to try cleaning that up, but that's the inside of the Daiwa Tatula 70. A little different looking than some of the other reels, but all the basics are the same. I had to pull this off here and show you. You can see there that pinion gear. You see that little silver piece around it? That's a bearing. So that pinion gear, a lot of the pinion gears, when you take the reel apart, this pinion gear here, this piece is just kind of free floating, moving in there. A lot of those less expensive reels will rely on the spool shaft like this to help straighten it out. So you can see like one here, just by adding that bearing in there, look at how much it solidifies that and helps keep that smooth and straight. And to clean this stuff up, I don't use anything too crazy. I have just gone to using alcohol, a little toothbrush here. If you don't have a Cinderella toothbrush, you're doing it wrong, but one of my daughter's extra toothbrushes. Just clean this up, and then we'll add some grease and get it put back together. Hopefully this doesn't blow up putting Shimano grease on a Daiwa reel. Okay, there we go, side plate on, and again, remember not to jostle these parts around too much. Get the pieces of our drag on here. That's essentially our clicker right there. Lightly doing it. Everything feels good. Now we just need to get out and cast it. And any sound this way? All right, well, now that we got this thing all cleaned up, put back together, let's give it a cast and see. I feel like, yeah, it's still got the clicky noise to it. I wonder if that is a deal with the bearings. Whatever bearings, these are not the bearings that come with the reel. Hear that? This thing will send a lure though. No questions about that. That's a fish out there on it. I was just yo-yoing a lipless out there. Well, how about that for the old Tatula 70? Like I said, the reel feels really nice. I like the reel a lot. Oh, hey, that's a pretty good fish. Yo-yoing an old lipless out there. That's a chunky 2-pounder, dude. Nice. Maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing here. Starting to get his fall feed on. Okay, there we go. Best one of the day so far. Over 2-pounder for me there on the lipless. Thanks for eating, feller. what's what's the deal with buying used fishing gear? Is it worth it? After I broke off, I ended up bringing the Tatula 70 back here again to see if I could get it figured out. And it's still got the noise, that clicking noise when you reel it in. Now, I should have contacted American Legacy right away. I guarantee they would have made it well. I've bought used stuff from them, probably, I don't know, 6, 7 reels from them. This is the only one I've had any issues with. And if I would have called them right away, I am more than certain they would have either refunded my money, you know, if I sent it back, or replaced it or switched it, whatever. They couldn't replace it. I guess it's used. Maybe they do. I don't know. Either way, they've been really good to deal with. And you can find really good deals online. Facebook Marketplace. I bought these. Both of these together. The lady wanted $100 for both of them together. Her husband passed away. Said, no. I said, they're worth a lot more than that. I'll give you a good deal. And gave her a fair price. But you just have to look. You have to look for ones that have multiple pictures. If I look on like Facebook Marketplace or anything, and I just see one with like a really blurry picture from way far away, usually I don't even mess with it. I want somebody who has multiple pictures. If I message them, oftentimes people will send a video. I bought a couple reels that way. And the good thing with places like, you know, American Legacy or from a store is usually they'll have some sort of return policy. So if you get it and then you don't like it or whatever, usually you can take it back or switch it for store credit, whatever it would, you know, be. But buying used, I have personally had really good luck. Now you always have to be careful because somebody may say, well, it's not working. I actually just talked to a subscribed fishing friend the other day who bought a Daiwa reel. And unfortunately, Daiwa reels seem to come dry. You know, whether that's new or, you know, somebody's used it and it's dry and they can't figure it out, or it's screeching or whatever, and they say, I don't want to deal with it. Oftentimes, most of those have needed oil on the spool shaft. So just a little tiny bit on each end. And I take just a little bit of thin oil and rub through here, because this is how your pinion gear works inside the reel. Your pinion gear goes into here, it clicks into place, and your spool spins. And I've heard that, you know, multiple people, after they oil this shaft where it's spinning inside here, inside this pinion gear, if you can see that brass piece here, spinning inside here, rubbing on here, for a number of folks, that's been the culprit. Now this is the spool tension knob. I was just talking to Jim, Tackle Junkie. He did a review on the 80. His had some sound. He had to oil his up. Not a great sounding deal here for Daiwa, and I'm kind of a Daiwa fanboy, but yeah, historically they have come dry, and I hate that because they're really good reels. Now that's where your spool shaft, the end of it, rubs on your spool tension knob. So I know if there's not a lubricant in there, if it gets dry, it can screech too, rubbing up on that without any sort of grease. So just some things to think about if you're buying used. If they say it has like a, you know, a screech to it or a squeal to it, you can ask them, has it been serviced? You know, have you oiled and greased it? A lot of times they'll say, nope, I don't have any idea how to do that. I don't want to deal with it. And I've bought multiple reels on Facebook Marketplace where it's somebody trying to use a baitcaster, trying to learn it. They don't want to deal with it, and they end up selling it cheap. So it's like brand new. So you can often find really good deals that way. You know, often better if you can get your hands on it and actually use it. But I've had good luck buying used. Comment below and let me know. Have you bought any used gear, whether that's rods, reels, and what have your experiences been like? Now, what are my overall thoughts on this little Tatula 70? If it wasn't for the ticking sound reeling it in, I think it would be really, really good reel, because this does have, be easier to show you here, it does have some of these hybrid ceramic bearings in there, and that is louder when you cast. Ceramic bearings, if I had an open one here, which I do happen to have, this guy here, it just doesn't have the orange seals on it. A ceramic bearing, the benefit is you can run them dry. So the little balls in there, as it's running around in circles, you don't have to have oil or grease on those. You can run them completely dry, but they are going to be louder. You know, I've had Scott from Spool Speed Bearings on, and he says it's kind of like a performance part on a car, right? If you switch out the normals and add something else that's going to spin, you're going to have an extra sound when there's not that lubricant in there. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you run those ceramic bearings, they are going to be a little louder on the cast. So that I would expect. And casting it did sound a lot better than when I first had it out. But reeling it in still, when I was fishing that lipless, you could hear that tick, 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 tick. Somebody said could be the anti-reverse bearing in there. Clean it out. I cleaned that. That didn't seem to be the issue. I checked the pinion and the main gear to make sure there were no teeth chipped or anything. I couldn't find that. So I don't know. I don't know if I need to switch out all the bearings or what, but it didn't hurt the performance. It still worked well that day. It was loud. It did. This is a used one I just bought. It's the little Tatula 70. Really like it. In hand, man, it is super comfortable, but I don't know if it's dry. I got it used, so I'm not sure what the previous owner did or did not do to it, but there's another one. Oh, baby, throwing the old cranking bait. I think this one might be a little bit bigger than 2-pounder. Oh, no. Oh, God, it's another good one. I don't want to flip them, though. Oh, my goodness. That's a chow. That's a caught a number of fish on it, and it feels really good in hand. So that's the part of me, if I, bought it new, I would have zero complaints about it. But when you get one used like that and it's got a little kind of tick to it that you can't figure out, it just kind of gets under your skin. You want to figure it out. So speaking of working on reels, I am going to do some more of those, showing some more maintenance and stuff. I've got a couple other reels I want to change some stuff out on, show some other things, and just kind of get into that and have people, allow people to get more comfortable taking them apart and doing some basic maintenance, because oftentimes I hear people, it's screeching or doing this or that, did you take it apart? No, I'm too afraid to. If you keep using it like that, where, something's rubbing dry or there's maybe sand in or whatever, you can certainly mess up your reel. So that's it for me today. Today's subscribed fishing friend is Mr. Bruce Nichols. That's actually who I was talking to the other day about fixing up his Tatula coming dry. I don't know if they, docked the guys that were using the grease, and I don't know, maybe the cost of grease is way up and they're trying to save. I don't know. Unfortunately, Daiwas have come dry. Some of the others that I've got have come completely perfect. So maybe something to think about if you do get a Daiwa and it sounds a little dry like that. It might just need a little oil and grease. But that's enough for me. I need to get this edited. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.